Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Let Rip Podcast. It is episode 7, I think, finally. I am joined alongside I'm Too Stoned in the bottom left-hand corner and Arbush in the bottom right-hand corner. Stoned is the ex-top, now AD carry for Project Unknown. Arbush, obviously, the owner of Deja Vu Clan and Deja Vu, playing jungle and now AD carry. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it now, actually. Fuck it. There's nothing else to fill
Yeah, fair enough.
So talk to me a little bit about that change. From because both of you made those changes to the AD carry position. So why?
I think for us it was all kind of started by the fact that Kiss snaked us, so he suddenly, with very little warning, left us for WSL. Which, fair enough. If he wants to win, that's fair. But I mean, I can't hold it against him. WSL is a really good team, so I don't really, again, hold it against him. But I kind of feel like he knew what he signed up for on DVT. I guess we were never really gonna win that much. But then after he left, we just kind of, as a team, talked about where everyone would like to play and what everyone would like to do. If we just want to keep having, mindless fun and trying whatever, or if we want to actually try to win a few games. And we kind of got to a middle point where we kind of want to do a little bit of both. And then ended up that everyone just also realized they don't really like the role they're playing currently. Kui did not like top lane. I did not like jungle. Korean Sophia just kind of didn't mind any role, and same with Big Sexy, so it ended up we just kind of swapped all around the place. So currently we're trying out with me and Kui bot lane and Sophia top lane, Sexy jungle, but I would not be surprised if that's not the last time we swap roles around the team, because I think we're still trying to figure everything out. Because at the end of the day, we are mostly just trying to have fun, but at the same time, it is very fun to beat people with this kind of bullshit we're trying to pull.
Yeah.
So.
Because, I mean, you did play AD carry at the start, didn't you, back when I was on the team?
Oh yeah, that was the original.
It.
I always enjoyed the carry. The original plan was to get a jungler, but at the start of the split, getting a jungler was not really a possibility, sadly. And then since the team was also just kind of for fun, we didn't really mind too much what roles we ended up going in. So just kind of whatever person we wanted on the team, we took on the team no matter what role they were playing. So in the start, that was you, but then there was a bit of a run-in, a bit of a whoopsie. And then it ended up being... God, who got instead? Oh, it was Sophia we got instead after that, but then Kiss ended up leaving.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's fair enough. What about you then, Stone? So, obviously, let's talk about what exactly happened with Project Unknown, because it went boom. So, from where I come in, obviously, I'm going to try out AD carry because something's happened with Miwa. I come in on the day, Olu's just not there, so I've got to fill jungle, and we go 0-3, and I'm like, actually, I tell you what, this is probably not the team for me. So, what happened up until that point and after to mean that you're now playing AD carry with Valk in the bot lane? Your mic's muted, Stoned. Or it's just up here.
One of the two. There's no sound coming out, at least. But
there's no sound coming out, Stoned. I'll give you a second to fix that, and I'll go back to you.
Yeah, give me a sec.
Oh,
give me a sec.
You hear you now.
Oh, what, can you hear me? Yeah?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Alright, yeah. Basically, like I was an AD carry main. I've never been a top lane main in that, but I played it for a 100 Cobra, and then obviously pro. But with what happened to pro, basically, it was a fucking shit show. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like Olu, he hadn't had to work all the time, and that's obviously fair enough. You know what I mean? But then when you say you're going to turn up to the games and then not turn up and then like just leave us hanging and stuff like that, like you might be a good player, but that ain't going to keep keeping that you on their team. You're just doing that because you're a good player. You know what I mean? Like on that Thursday that you filled and that trigger.
Yeah.
Meant to be AD carry in jungle because he didn't turn up, you know what I mean? And that was a big red flag for like everyone on the team, you know what I mean? So we had to sort of switch up everything pretty much, because at first it was working perfect, like our scrims were unbeaten and everything, and then obviously further down than at the line, things just started going worse and worse and worse and worse until we got to the point where we was on that Thursday, and then everything just went mental boom.
So-
Like everything just went boom.
So
Sorry
explain
to
what happened
sorry.
with Miwa to the reason that you got rid of him to even look for an AD carry first, and then we'll talk about what happened after that Thursday. So what was the situation with Miwa?
Miwa was that was people just weren't getting along, and he couldn't take a constructive criticism. Like he thought that people were just literally after him if they was telling him that he was in the wrong in that position or something. You're like you're overstepping, blah blah blah. He thought that it was an attack where really we're just trying to help and tell him that like, look, you are out of her position, blah blah blah. Rock was more than all welcoming that to work on that with him, as well to try to help him. But he thought that it was just everyone was after him, which it wasn't. Like I've got nothing against Miwa or Olu. You know what I mean? It just wasn't working for the team. Like in that the environment just weren't good, and there was arguments within the team as well. And it's meant to be fun. You know what I mean? As soon as that goes out the window, you ain't got anything left. You're just literally playing, and that for the sake of playing. And it's never going to be fun, and you're not going to win, are you? Like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
So
like at the beginning, it was perfect when we all first and that met, and Falcon put the team together in like a day, I think it was, or something, and we was all having a laugh and everything. And then obviously later down the line, people were rubbing off with other people, and we just realised that it just weren't going to work. You know what I mean? So we had to do some massive change ups.
Yeah.
So after that Thursday, you've got you've got Kraft, you've got Valk, you've got Tense who's trying out for AD carry, and you've got Rock as your coach. Then from there, what conversations were had that resulted in Endeavour coming in, that resulted in then Endeavour and Kraft leaving, and resulted in you moving to AD carry. So what was the team meetings like? What was said? What was the purpose behind that? And was there any other problems that you had?
It was just I don't think Thomas could have clicked with Falk either in the bot lane. You know what I mean? And when we had scrims like without leaking, they weren't great. You know what I mean? They like it just weren't working out like completely. You know what I mean? Like obviously it's gonna take obviously time and that, but like we could just tell that it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
Work, you know what I mean? Like you need like obviously we wouldn't lose like every scrim, but we would like even the ones we would win we'll have to do like a massive comeback and stuff. We was never in the league and then winning it. You know what I mean? It was literally behind. Can we come back? Not can we win this? It's like we have to come back to win this.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. But but things have all changed now. Where it's actually really funny now. To be fair, like everyone's having a laugh and no one's taking it like serious. If you know what I mean, everyone's just there now to have a laugh and literally play out and that to the end. So is
that why Kraft left? Just because he didn't see it being competitive and he wasn't there for fun.
I think half of it was where we weren't winning and that, and no one likes losing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like no one enjoys losing, whether you're doing it for fun or not. But yeah, Kraft is more competitive. Like he wants that to win.
I mean,
and stuff
Kraft,
like that.
Kraft ended up joining our team as a sub afterwards. I can give you his side of the story afterwards if you want.
Yeah,
because he told us why he ended up leaving from his point of view, at least.
Yeah, and obviously things were just they weren't how they was like in scrims. You'll have one or two people that won't turn up, and then you have to use fills and stuff or subs. So we was never scrimming with our actual team anyway. You know, and so we could never get better as a unit, say, because there was always one or two people missing all the time. So, and I think that got on everyone's and that nerves and that like as well, where we was never playing as a team. So
yeah, that's fair. I mean, as you say, Valk put it together in one day, and you're naturally going to come across issues where, you know, the issue that I found is people don't try out long enough to know what team they want to join. So, like, when I joined Deja Vu, I thought a couple of scrims went great, I had a laugh every single time, this is going to be perfect. You know, the players are good enough, they're going to probably win games too. And then it comes to times where actually, no, a different situation's happened, and this isn't going to work. So I can't fucking stand it. I've got to leave.
Yeah.
Obviously took time for you as well. So go on, Arbush. What was the Kraft situation from what he said and how you understand it?
From what he told us, at least, he just got straight up kicked by Valk because he was in the beginning of the split not saying if he wanted to stick around because it was again a team that was put together in a day, and then Kraft from at least I've not seen any DMs. I don't know how much he's accurate or not, but he told me that he was just told by Valk that he was being let go of, and then he just had to go find a new team. So,
wow. So
again,
we'll wait to see what.
Yeah,
it says about that.
I can only say what I've been told, so I don't know how much is accurate or not, but that's at least what he told us.
Yeah, it's been. There's never any issues until someone remembers that transfer week's happening soon, and then after that fourth week, the rest of the split's fucking mental, and everyone's getting kicked or leaving or trying to find the right team. So I mean, Stones, you're happy with the team you've got now?
Yeah. It's actually a lot, and as I said, we're all taking it as like for fun now because it's very. It's highly doubtable that we're going to get playoffs, you know what I mean? So now we're just going to come out with some crazy shit and just have fun with it, you know what I mean?
I mean, unfortunately, one of the few teams that got cooked by this rule of the Smurfing allegation. So to kind of talk about that one a little bit, and I'll get your guys' opinions. In the past, when a team leaves the split, their wins and losses stayed. A good example was Revival had some wins and some losses, and I think they might have lost him in the end anyway. I can't remember exactly how that ended up working out, but in this season, Elo Thieves obviously picking up a lot of wins, a couple of losses, and those teams who'll beat them no longer get the reward for beating them because now everyone gets a 2-0 versus them, which is why on the spreadsheet that I posted for Golden Plat, and you can just find that on the news channel on Discord, it's just completely removing Click and Elo Thieves because they're no longer teams, which means everyone gets a 2-0 against them, and that kind of means that it's in essence it's fair because in the end it's out of these 10 teams that are left, these are how they stack up against each other. But obviously the unfortunate thing is you beat Elo Thieves, other teams lost to Elo Thieves, and you don't get the benefit of that, and there's no way to make it work. But what's your guys' opinion on that change? Do you agree with it, or do you think it should be kind of how it was in the past?
I think it's an unfortunate, like, I think in the bigger picture, the change is probably for the better. So then you don't get punished by being beaten by a team and then they leave right after. But at the same time, it just suck for teams like Pro that then get taken down because of it. But I don't know. I think it is overall a good change, but sometimes, no matter how you change it, when a team just leaves like that, some teams are just going to get fucked in terms of if they won or lost to them.
Yeah. Lesser of two evils, I suppose, is a consensus for that one. So, looking at the split now, obviously, Pro, unfortunately, only now with 2 wins and a bunch of losses since, obviously, that Thursday when I played, the curse of Drigger on Pro. And then, obviously, DVT, it was a slow start, and now you're picking up wins almost every week now. You went 1-1.
It's weird. Honestly, every game we go into is just kind of a 50-50. I have no idea why we beat some teams and don't beat others. We just outplayed and just beat PMA pretty handily, I'd even say. but then we got absolutely ass blasted by VGR right after. So I don't know what's going on, honestly.
Yeah, because I mean VGR lost to Barber, and then VGR beat
Yeah.
Deja Slim, who beat PMA. So it's like
yeah, and then PMA, and then right after PMA beat WSL. So I don't know what's going on. But hey,
it's a strange one. So where are your guys' expectations? Sometimes you touched on it, it's just kind of for fun. If you make playoffs, great, but you're not really planning to do it. Just enjoy the rest of the week.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm at the moment. I've got the mental now where I'm just there to have fun now, as you can tell by my level 2 all-in versus a PMA under the time. No fucks given, just jumping in like going like whatever happens. Like, you know what I mean? I'm at that mental now where I'm just there to have a, you know.
That's fair. I think we're slightly different in the sense that we still try our best to win. We just don't always do it in the easiest or most straightforward way.
Like, we could pick Sion here, but what about
we could
Singed?
pick Sion and Sejuani here. But what about Singed? Yeah, I mean,
because obviously you guys are right up in it now. You're currently 6th based off games that have been played. You've got the likes of VGR below you. You've got Vivid Visions just below you, maybe even on wins, and then you've got Claytrons just above you. I suppose that's kind of the group that people are looking at as being relatively even.
I think for us, honestly, again, maybe it sounds cocky, but I think we know that we are better than the other teams in that group. But even if I feel like we are for sure better than them in terms of both players and just how we play the game, I'm still not going to say I'm confident we could just consistently beat them, because we do just have a tendency to int games a few times, very often. The game we lost to Claytrons was a game where I think one of the biggest weaknesses of Claytrons is a lot of their players are like one tricks, or not straight up one tricks, but they have some very clear picks that are a lot better on than other champions. And then the one week we faced them, we had no bans against them. And then they beat us. The Vivid Visions who beat the Pro, we beat VGR. I don't know why we've lost 2 times to them. I feel like both games just something goes horribly wrong. This time, I mean, again, I could say it's because we played poorly, but it was also just partly due to, in that game, I was having horrendous ping issues, and I ended up dying DC'd under turret before we could pause. And then because they killed me there, then everyone else was out of position, and then they just kind of snowballed from there. So you're playing Yuumi Garen bot lane, and I also detached Yuumi DC'd under turret, and I just got one gibbed.
What bot lane were you against?
What was it? It was Varus, either Varus Braum or Varus Nautilus, one of those two.
Right, okay. Because, I mean, there's always some... In this league, there's a lot of things which are allowed to happen, but teams make sure don't happen for this kind of competitive integrity and sportsmanship.
Yeah.
You know, the likes of rescheduling games or letting teams have bans when, you know, they're not meant to get those. And another one of those is killing DCs. And it's like, well, fair play, it's a competitive game. You DC'd, I killed you.
Yeah. I mean, I can't blame him too much. I don't think Ram realized I was DC'd until he'd already popped everything on me, and that point is kind of... It feels a little bad to just turn around and like, oh yeah, I just wasted all my cooldowns, let me just walk back out to not be rude.
Yeah.
But then the issue was that we were like setting up for a roam bot lane, because our mid laner was like halfway down river, and then I DC'd and they killed me on a turret, and then because I was DC'd and dead, suddenly we no longer had the mana advantage, and then they turned around on the mid laner out of position. And then because we had 2 people dead, they then got a turret, and then from there they just very quickly snowballed the game out of control.
Yeah, so that is the case, and when you
that was a bit unfortunate.
Another kill and an objective just based off that, you can understand why that's
yeah, but at the same time, I'm not going to say I was, like, even before that, we were not ahead in the game, so I'm not going to say we for sure would have won if that didn't happen, but it just kind of feel, I guess, bad, because you don't really know what would have happened if it was more of a fair game, but oh well.
I mean, we'll see how things end up at the end of the split. Do you think that you will make play? I think it's top 6 for playoffs. I've literally had no confirmation.
I mean, yeah, I don't know either. I think for sure, if it is top 6, I think as long as we don't int too many games that we should have won, we should for sure make playoffs, and I think for sure we will make playoffs. I'm not sure exactly what we will do in playoffs, if we'll actually try hard or if we'll just try to put on a bit of a show. We'll find out when we get there, but I'm decently confident saying we'll get top 6.
Is it streamed? Yes. Int.
Yeah.
That's fair. So what's your guys' opinion on this then? So I think the likes of rescheduling games, giving teams bans, you know, DCs, and in those clutch situations, where do you two personally stand on
them? I understand both sides of it. Personally, we never on our team take away bans from people because of issues like that, because it doesn't make the game fair, and there's not really. It takes a lot of the satisfaction away. I feel like, at least from the players on our team, it takes a lot of satisfaction away if, oh, we beat them, but we had this handicap. We'd much rather know that we can beat them and no handicap needed.
Yeah.
So in that way, it's more satisfying to beat them. But I understand teams that might be struggling and just trying to get as many wins as they can. I don't really blame them for wanting to take those kind of things. Like, I don't really blame Playtrons because they are still in contention for just barely making playoffs. So I don't blame them for wanting to take away bans from teams that, again, rightfully shouldn't have bans, because I don't remember exactly. I think we had to get an emergency sub in the game because, oh right, it was because of what's it called? We had a little Cloud mid lane, and in the first game of that week, his instant just randomly died and it did not work at all. So we had to get an emergency sub in that did not know how to play mid lane, and then we had no bans and a Malzahar that didn't know how to play Malzahar, which is a strange thing not to know how to play, I guess. But he's good. Like, he's sub for us, but he's like a only jungle player, I think. So he was not the most confident playing mid lane. But what can you do?
Yeah.
It happens once in a while.
So say if I'll come to you after Stone. Say if a team needs a reschedule, one of their players is just not available. They don't have a sub they can use. They want to reschedule. If not, you get an FF. What's your personal approach on that? And then what do you think teams should do?
What, me?
Sorry, this is to Arbush.
Oh, right, yeah.
What, sorry?
So I'll ask again. So say you're against a team that doesn't have a player available. They will FF the game but want to reschedule. Will you provide times to reschedule? Will you make it hard for them, or will you just take the free?
I'll give them times where we can reschedule to. Usually if that happens, I'll be in voice with the team and I'll talk to them. Hey, is there any days you guys are available? I'll tell them the days we're available. But if they can't make that, then there's not really much more we can do. We'd usually just tell them to try to get an emergency sub. Then I guess. And we'll try as much as we can to make it a fair fight and to reschedule and stuff like that. But at some point, they are the ones with the issue, so you shouldn't suffer for it. So if it ends up, we can reschedule to this, but then we'd have to use this up, then it's on them to get it figured out, not us. But for the most part, we'll just try what we can to make the game fair.
And then those 2 points to you, Stone. So obviously the rescheduling issue, and I can't fucking remember what the one before that was. Bans, giving people bans.
Yeah. The rescheduling one, I think that because I think we have a game in hand against I, and we weren't going to take that game as an FF, because it's just you're not actually playing it. You haven't literally earned that win. So us personally, we'd rather wait and get that game actually played in that, which I think the admins have actually sorted out now. I think we're playing next week, next Thursday now.
It is, yeah.
Pro versus Ike is all sorted. But about all the bans now, I guess it depends on who you're facing, really. Because when we did we face you last week?
Us? I don't think you. I think you did the week before that, and we played something like Cassiopeia, Jarvan, and bot lane or something.
Yeah, because there was a team or two this week that actually let us have our bans. Can't remember who it was though, because we was only meant to have 2 bans, but they let us actually have our bans, which is. So I guess it all depends on who you're going up against. If they want to let you have the bans or not, really. It depends if they want to be nice or not be nice. You know what I mean?
I agree with that. Yeah. Let's say, for example, we're not supposed to have bans this week either, because I've tried to read the rules, but sometimes it's not always that easy. It seems, because Big Sexy's on holiday for a week, so he tries to get Wilbo in as a sub. But then apparently he was not a rostered sub, which I'm not quite sure what it means, but that means we apparently don't get any bans for the week.
Yeah.
Even though we signed him up in time, but it's my bad for not reading the rules properly, I guess. But even so, PMA and what was the other team we played this week? PMA and VGR still gave us our bans, even though VGR didn't have any bans used. We just gave each other bans, both of us.
Yeah.
But then PMA gave us our bans, so again, that team I definitely wouldn't take bans or anything. But on the other hand, we are probably a bit spiteful. So if we do again face Clay T, and then they're the ones who won't have bans, we probably won't give it to them. Just as an act of revenge for when they didn't give us ours. But as a like starting point, just in good faith, we'd always give bans back. But then if a team doesn't give us our bans, we won't give them their bans next time, obviously, either.
I personally think that that's the best way to take it, really. Give everyone the benefit of the doubt, and then if they're cunts, well, we cunts back. I think
what goes around and that comes around, isn't it?
Exactly. And that. Right, okay, that's fair. So, where do you guys see the rest of the league going aside from the teams that you're in? So, I mean, you guys are kind of around this kind of. You're going to be battling for 6th, maybe probably up to 4th, based off the current run of games. Obviously, not as an insult, but probably that's the highest that you guys could probably go, given the teams that are near the top. So, if we're talking about the teams at the top, what teams are you favouring the most? I mean, we're looking at teams like OP Nerds, who I'll get into in a little bit. World Saves Lives, PMA, and Ignite Kills Eagles is probably the 4 teams that are kind of up there. I think Claytrons is the team below them.
Yeah.
So between those 4, where are you guys kind of having your eggs in your basket, so to speak?
Honestly, I don't feel like we've scrimmed those teams nearly as much as we should, probably. I feel like we keep scrimming Pro and the other teams around us. So I'm not sure which teams are that strong. We did beat PMA. We did get absolutely ass blasted by WSL. OP Nerds, I'm not sure, honestly, because I feel like it's very competitive at the top. I think for sure Ike is the worst of those 4 teams, at least in my opinion. But of the top 3, I'm not sure, because we could beat... I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Looking at the roster, it's the least impressive looking one. You're still probably way better than like the 4, 5, 6 teams, so don't take it too bad. But I don't know, because to me it seems like, okay, I'd probably, just from our personal exposure to the teams, I would probably say WSL as the first, OPN as second, and then PMA as third. But then at the same time, PMA just beat WSL as well. And I don't really know exactly... I don't know exactly which order to rank them in. I think it just depends who you ask and who they've seen play. Because in the beginning of the split as well, I think everyone was rating Pro very highly because you did have a lot of good scrims. As an example. But even so, no offense, but I never rated you highly because I don't think you ever beat us in a scrim, like other than maybe a single game. But anytime we did 3 games, we always ended up winning 2 out of 3 games against you, even when we were inting.
Yeah, I think we didn't scrim you for a little while after, though. I don't think.
No, that might be it.
Yeah, because we went on like literally an unbeaten run, and then we got Rock as our coach, and then it all went downhill. that is literally what happened. As soon as he come in, we just started losing. You know what I mean? It's like, what's going on here? No, but he's a good guy, Tim. But But I think
it just depends on personal point of view, I guess. But
do you think it could come to this kind of rock, paper, scissors, Pokemon, fire, water, grass scenario? Because you often think about this, where you get these weird results where this team beats this team, but that team beat that team, which is weird because then that team beat that team. You get those weird triangles. Do you think it could be the likes of, well, PMA is going to be really good against the top tier teams because they're gonna, God no. I mean, in my head, I've got them as a macro team that can play well for late, and I've got people who are willing to take sacrifices for each other, and then so I reckon they could do quite well against WSL. But I think WSL would completely ass blast, as you so kindly put it, everyone below them because of their playstyle so aggressive, so early game based off mechanics, where they're at this high level and they'll beat everyone lower, but PMA will beat people at their level. I mean, that's just in my head, kind of an example of where it could be. But do you think that might be the case, where teams are actually a lot more complicated than just they are this good and that team is that good?
I think it is, but I'm not sure to say it's like rock, paper, scissors, triangle. I think they just have very different strengths. To me, it feels like OPN just feels like a very solid, like good team. I feel like all their basics are just very sharp and on point. They don't have any like insane standout things they're insane at, but it feels like they don't really make, at least again from my point of view, it feels like they don't make as many sloppy mistakes as other teams do, but they don't at the same time either make as many, high-profile active plays as other teams do. They just have very good fundamentals. WSL, again, yeah, I do think they're just very aggressive all over the map and on point from minute one in games. And PMA, I'm not quite sure. Again, honestly, I think we've only played them like this is probably the first time we played them today. Actually, not today. Last week was the first time we played them, and we beat them. But again, that time they didn't have their coach, so I don't know how good they are normally, I guess is the thing.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm having had kind of a hard time rating them, because I've yet to really experience their strengths. I've only really heard it from others, so I don't really know too much where I place them. But I think for sure WSL and OPN are very scary for us. But I think WSL is probably the better one of the two, for me at least.
That's fair. Have you played much against OPN Stoned?
A few scrims and that. Yeah, they are actually one of the teams that have actually well surprised me at how well they're doing, to be honest. Because going into it, I didn't really rate like highly, and then now I've watched the games and scrimmed against them, etc. Like they are actually a really good team, obviously, because
what makes
they
them
are
good
up
for
at the
you?
top. I just think it's how they work as a team more than anything. It's not their macro or anything. It's just how they work as a unit, and like they just tend to just get things done and just to come out on top. It's not one person that stands out, it's the whole team. They work together really well, you know what I mean? And I think that's what it is, because if you're looking at singular players, they're all really good, but then they're not like, say, that golden person that's just like everyone's, and that I think they just all pull together really well and just make this really good team that are really strong.
Yeah, I think that's true as well. I remember we played them once, and that was back when I was still a jungler. I remember one of the things that really like fucked us that game was we didn't quite respect how quick and how well they worked together as a team. Because often back in those days, me and Kiss would always try to contest people around the scuttlecraft and fight them, and to actually be quicker at responding to these kind of scuttle fights than we were, but also bring more members very quickly. Like before we're even on the scuttle fight, people are already walking down and they're already on point with those kind of team skirmishes happening.
Yeah.
So the teams that the OPN have lost to is Ike and WSL. So kind of what I would call it in two of the top four.
Yeah.
But they did beat PMA, so kind of the opposite of what I was saying earlier. How would you go about beating them if you were trying to beat them with the team that you've got? Do you think there's an area that you can attack? Is there an area of weakness? So, for example, with Bob, I see a very good early game team and a good late game AD carry, but in the mid game they kind of just tend to fall off, and you can kind of just roll on them. Is there a way that you could really attack OP Nerds if you were trying to do that?
I think so, yeah. I think the fact that they don't have any star players, again, all their players are very solid, but if, let's say, a team like, I don't know exactly which team, but if a team has like one lane where they are very confident is going to be stronger than the enemy lane, then you could try to set up so they get a favorable matchup and then use the rest of the map to kind of help isolate the matchup. If you think you can generate a lead somewhere on the map just through the 2v2 or the 1v1, then I think that is where they might falter, because it seems like, again, individually they're solid, but they're not really that stand out in terms of players.
Yeah.
So if you do have a strong lane, if you can just create like even lanes or just pushing priority lanes so they can't really roam and help any lane that might be losing, then I think they might have more issues. Because their biggest strength is definitely their ability to rotate around and help each other, and then also just work together when they are at the same spot. But when they are more isolated, I think they are more, what's it called? Exploitable.
Yeah. Exploitable. Yeah, that's fair. We'll obviously see how the rest of the split goes now, because we are over halfway through, just over.
Yeah.
So it's now the second half of games that are going to come through, and we'll see how these matchups go, and we'll see how the teams do, because you're going to get teams which start bad and end great. Like obviously, look at PMA last split, ended up winning the cup and almost made it through to playoffs if it wasn't for the gauntlet. And then you had teams at the top that faltered. I mean, TSB looks almost unbeatable, and then I think they made it to two finals but weren't able to pick anything up. So you do often get things like that. The next thing I want to talk about is coaches. Obviously, you talked about Rock coming in and making you lose. And I want to talk about the influence of coaches. Obviously, we've recently seen Ceres, whatever the fuck his name is. I've always said Ceres, and I think it's Ceres. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Coaches, he's recently left. What's your opinion on coaches on a team? Where do you think they should come in and help? And just basically overall, the strengths and the weaknesses and the reasons for why a coach is good.
I might be very biased again because I am a coach myself for the DV team, so I will obviously have some sort of bias there. But I think a coach can be very, very good for a team as long as they put in the effort. Because honestly, coaches don't help all that much if they're not really there for the team whenever they need it. That is something that I feel like a lot of coaches in the league and just different teams I've seen, they're listed as coaches and they will show up once in a while, but they're not really there with the team the entire time to help them and figure out all the small things that go wrong. Because it is hard for a coach to really at least in my opinion, it's hard for the coach to completely get the team if all they look at is like results or post-game screenshots or replays once in a while. Because you often have to be there in the moment to figure out exactly how it goes wrong in comms with the team as well, or what issues the team might have out of game as well.
Yeah, true.
So you're a coach that's a team owner. You've also got coaches who aren't team owners. So you were able to be the coach, construct the team that you wanted to coach.
Yeah.
And that does offer you those bonuses.
Yeah.
Do you find any additional stress in knowing that you've not just got to deal with the in-game stuff, you've also got to deal with that personal stuff? You've got to be a man manager as well as a coach in a way.
Oh yeah, that is sometimes very stressful. Like DV has for the most part been a very pleasant experience because the team is just...
I'll be 2 seconds.
Yeah, it's okay. It's been pretty pleasant because one, I just like all the players on the team we have on DV, and I feel like I understand what most of them want. And like most of them want to win, and so far we have been doing a good job of that. I think for sure we are the strongest silver gold team right now. No doubt in my mind, really, honestly. Even though we do once in a while tend to drop games. But sometimes things do get stressful because there has been some... It's not been that bad. People are still all friends and happy with each other, but there has been sometimes some... what do you call it? Not IRL, but out-of-game issues between players, or some potential team drama during the transfer week where some players might look at other offers and stuff like that. So it does become...
Obviously, I spoke on the last podcast about his kind of interactions with Harshy and how it wasn't always constructive, and he would put a lot of blame on that on himself, to be fair, saying that he did say some things which were just bang out of order. It's a fair play for him to realise that, and obviously he's still with you, and you're in that situation. So when you look at coaches who don't have that control of the team, don't have that kind of man management necessity needed, do you think that's a bonus for them, or do you think that could actually make it worse?
I think honestly that makes it worse, but that's again my opinion. That's honestly also one of the reasons I wanted to make my own kind of work and team and whatever, is because I tried coaching other teams, but since I didn't own the team or didn't really have all that much authority in the team, I didn't really have the ability to make the kind of changes I felt like the team needed sometimes, because again, I can't really choose what players play on the team. Sometimes you just have to deal with what's handed, even if I can tell that, okay, these players are not going to work together in the long run, or okay, these players want different things in the kind of league they're playing in right now.
Yeah.
And then when you don't have creative control on, okay, we practice these days, or we want to try to practice in this different way, or even we want to try these different roster options, then it becomes a lot harder to coach, because some rosters, even no matter how well they work in real life or how good friends they are, they just don't always work as a team together. And that can be a bit of an issue sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, you see it. I think Misfits is the prime example of this split. When you
that's what I was thinking of as well, yeah.
5 awesome players, undoubtedly awesome players, and it's like, oh shit, well, we just lost again. What's going on? So, Stone, what's your opinion on kind of coaches as a whole? So we were talking then about, is it a benefit to own the team as well as coach it, to actually control which players there are, or is it just better to not have that stress and just coach the players that you've got and deal with what you've got? So obviously you said you're doing great until Rock came in. So what changes were made, and why do you think that was the case?
I mean, obviously, it's not just because Rock turned up. You know what I mean? But that's what we said, because we was winning, and and everything, and then all of a sudden Rock comes in, and then we're on this massive loss streak. You know what I mean? But he come in, and his words were he was gonna make his only G2 out of us, and that because of how flexible we are, and that hence why I was on like a Carly top and everything like that. But I don't. It worked, but it didn't work at the same time. But coaches, I think you gotta have like a good relationship with your coach as well, because if you don't like your coach and he's telling you to do this, to do that, you're gonna fuck off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I can't be bothered.
Yeah, that is.
Just literally do one. You know what I mean? You got to have like a relationship, and like, I suppose you got to have faith in your coach as well.
Yeah.
If you don't believe in what your coach is saying or trying to help you with, then obviously you're not going to take it on board, and you're not going to try change. These are things where if you trust your coach, you're going to be more inclined to try do this and try pick up, say, more vision and where to ward and where to be at this time and blah 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 blah. You know what I mean?
So what was the situation like with Hyper? Because obviously Byron owned 100 Cobra. Well, after kind of Press gave it him. Then Hyper was brought in just to coach.
Yeah.
So there was. I mean, you guys won the show too, and then. What was your relationship like with him, and why did then suddenly he leave?
It was good. The relationship was. It was more banter. There was like a lot of banter. You know what I mean? But yeah, the relationship was really good. Obviously, he put Byron on dog champs. Me on carries top. Slacking on just anything apart from Sedge. You know what I mean? And like, yeah, but that's what I mean. I think it worked so well because we was all friends out of it as well. Like after certain scrims at certain times, we would even go play Scriblio and just laugh, and all when that play together, and it builds more synergy that way as well with your coach and your players, because they aren't just literally telling you what to do, blah blah. Look at this, other than that time stamped this that I want you to do this. It was more like where they talk about it while having fun.
Yeah.
And that's how to speak. So it's like a different mindset. You feel like you're not being like moaned at or flamed. It's more like a friend trying to help a friend, sort of thing. And I think that helps. Where I think that like it might be working, but I heard that Looney's coaching is like you're basically in the fucking army. you know, like you need to be playing like 6 hours a day or something, and like you have to be doing this for so many hours and blah blah. Like fair. If you've got a bunch of players that want to do that, then that's completely fair. But if someone come up to me and said, "You got to do this for 6 hours now," I'd be like, "Yeah, and you can fuck off." You know what I mean? Like, I ain't doing that shit.
I mean, that's pretty interesting, and so maybe it is down to having players of a mentality that the coach has.
Exactly.
So with you guys on Honda Cobra, it was this jovial, constructive atmosphere.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
where he'd offer advice but wouldn't force anything, and you know, when you look at PMA, it's obviously working for them. You know, a lot of team elite have been moved over, and those guys have that mentality, and they seem almost out of any team the most banded together. It seems to be a little bit of a brotherhood when it comes to PMA, at least from what I've seen personally. I mean, I don't know if anyone says anything different. They've got a level of banter between, you know, the likes of, you know, Last and Gandhi.
For the most part, yeah. But I seem to recall at least again, it goes to just because they were losing to a shit team like us. But I remember there was a VOD, I think, of their point of view in the game against us, and they were very, very tilted and kind of flaming each other a little bit. But that could also just because, I don't know.
But maybe that is that mentality. That is that.
I mean, true. That is probably that could also be part of the competitive mentality that they
need
so
to
in that
be good.
aspect, I guess it is. Yeah,
I
but
mean,
it's just
you're gonna have that mentality, though, aren't you? If you're training like that long every day and stuff. If you lose, you're gonna be fuming. You're gonna be like, we just put this much time the whole week, and then these and that bunch of idiots that literally turned up have just fucking rolled us. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, fair.
You know what I mean?
There you go,
So
Arbush, you bunch of idiots.
Yeah, I mean, he's not wrong.
No, well, I didn't mean it as in like.
It's alright. It's alright.
But that's how they're gonna think of it. Like, we've trained this hard all week, then like these people that are doing it more for fun have just come and beat us. So they are gonna be like, "Fuck,
yeah,
like, what a waste of
fair,
time." You know what I mean?
And
that's what I meant. I didn't mean like you're an idiot.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair. So when looking at DVT and DV, two very different mentalities, and you're in both of them.
Yeah.
Can you see how both teams are an aspect of yourself, and you're able to split that, or is it two kind of incomplete versions of how does that work? Where we've now kind of maybe made a discovery or just a thought process of that. You've got to have a team to match the mentality. And you've got two teams with arguably different ones. One very competitive, still close, but competitive, and then one that's close, but jovial and fuck about, Ari.
Yeah, I mean, I think those are just different ways that I both enjoy playing the game. It's hard to do both of them together, but the entire team, or both teams, were made with that in mind, that the Silver Gold team would be the priority. So therefore, that's the one where we would be very competitive and try our hardest. While the Gold Plat team was literally just made so me, Mike, and Kui actually had a place to play instead of just sitting out on the Gold Plat split.
Yeah. So you've got players, and I'm sure they'll be well aware of this themselves, like Kui and Big Tex, as you mentioned, that do tend to tilt, or at least blame other people or themselves when they lose in certain situations. So Kui can undoubtedly think, fuck Renekton or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And obviously Big Sexy, we've seen him in general being quite pessimistic and self-deprecating in a way in terms of his own ability. I mean, don't know whether that's a joke, but to me it seemed legit when I was reading it. How do you manage that with a team that does just have fun to win? The game against Pro, when you just fucked about and went Jarvan bot lane, Sai on top with Smite, and you won, it was like, yeah, great game, you proper popped off, was great. But when it doesn't go well, how do you manage that? You know what team it is, and yet still you get these level of reactions.
I don't know. It honestly depends exactly how it happens. For the most part, they have been. I know both of them get kind of a bad rep for being tilters, but it's not been that bad at all this split. Like, often, once in a while, if a game does just go to shit, then we will be a bit tilted in comms, but it's never anything that really persists that long out of game, because we know that we are just gonna be fucking about, and we know that we can't expect to win every single game.
Yeah, I mean.
So for the most part, it's been fine. I think. I think honestly it was worse when Kiss was here, mostly because at that point Kui had some times where like he just didn't have fun losing top lane every game, even though we were having fun elsewhere, just goofing around. But I don't know. I think. I mean, Kiss was not the issue. I'm not trying to say anything like that. But after he left, I think everyone just kind of had a mental reset, and then just kind of like, oh well, I mean, we are just playing to have fun. It's gonna, no matter what happens, just try to have fun while we're doing it. So I don't think people are that tilted by it anymore.
Because Kiz and Mike obviously had a pretty good out-of-game synergy. When I was back in that team, those two were having a laugh all the time.
Yeah, they were.
You and Kui kind of joining in where you were. But it seems like there is two versions of Kiz where there is that jovial, I'm just going to have fun all the time, never seen that guy upset. But in-game, he's winning that motherfucking game.
Yeah, it is kind of strange, because he's always saying he's just in it to have fun, he doesn't really want to try hard, but at the same time, it is just kind of, I don't know, Kiss is a weird guy. I like him, but he's a weird guy. I don't really always get what it is he wants.
And obviously that's part of the issue. I think at WSL he's found a good mix of people who do like to have a laugh, but are going to try very hard to win. And if they don't win, then they've all got that mentality of what the fuck went wrong.
Yeah.
That was, famously 2-hour-long conversations after a game when we lost. It's like, what? So maybe he's found it there. But I know Mental, the jungler, he gets on well with, and I can certainly imagine that. We'll see how WSL do. A lot of teams think that you lost the transfer market losing Kears and picking up. Was it Cloud that's now permanent?
It's Cloud, yeah. He's kind of half splitting the spot with Theo, but it's for the most part Cloud. Because if we ever use Theo, we don't have any bans because he used to be on Pro.
Yeah.
So that's a bit unfortunate with the new rule changes, but oh well.
So, do you think that you got worse as a team competitively losing Kears?
If you want to talk about everyone's just individual skills level currently, then I would agree. Yes, we did kind of, I guess, arguably get a downgrade. But if we're talking about how the team actually communicates and plays together now, I think we did just get better because Cloud's also just, he has fun, but he's at the same time competitive. Because if we were ever trying to like if we were trying to shotcall Mecro or anything like that with Kiss in the team, he's always complained that we're trying too hard, while at the same time also just wanting to win. So I was very confused what Kiss actually wanted half the time.
But Cloud will have that level.
Yeah, Cloud will have that. Like, he's fine playing stuff that's maybe a bit more try hard or doing things that are a bit more try hard and still just having fun with it. Well, Kiss, if we ever picked a comp that was too, how do you put it, too normal, too meta, too sweaty, so to say, he would always just start complaining about it.
I mean, for me, what DV is to me is that game where I was still, the last game I played for you is when you were playing Kennen AD carry and I was...
Oh yeah, Kennen AD carry and Iron jungle with, God, what was support in that game?
I think it was just Nautilus because Mike was still new to the role at the time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Kale top and I think Yasuo mid. But that was that pick random shit but still try to win.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what it was, and players to do it.
That is what it has been, but then at the same time, it is kind of sometimes like that kind of game. That was big smart, big brain by Drigger making that comp. Like Shin or Kale, I don't think it changed the comp too much either way. But
no, in hindsight, no, it still had an R that's protected the cannon.
Yeah, basically. So it didn't change the
comp. Undoubtedly, Shen is a better pick into Aurelia. Whatever it was.
I don't remember what it was facing, but I remember that was the big argument was if it was better into the top lane matchup or not. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
But sometimes like that, yeah, that's what the team was based on, making weird shit like that and making it work. But then other times we'll also try some probably less good strategies to see if they work. Like let's just in theory say something like a fresh top lane or Tristana jungle and hope that works out, and then it doesn't always work out.
We know they've tried that, by the way.
I think that was our first stream game, and we kind of just lost. But oh well, what can you do?
What can you do, eh? So I mean, that's fair. We'll obviously see where you end up. You think you'll make playoffs, and from there we'll see.
I think we'll make playoffs from there. We'll see if we just in the quarterfinals with word picks, if we actually try or not. I'm unsure, but I think we'll for sure make playoffs if no other team steps up big time.
Yeah, hypothetically, if for each of you, your team made playoffs, what are the other 5 teams joining you? For you?
WSL, OPN, Ike, PMA.
And Bob.
and Bob, yeah. Bob, that's the first seed.
Decided.
I don't know.
Claytrons, Visions, VGR, Pro.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm not sure. I don't think Vivid Visions will make playoffs for sure. All memeing aside, as much as I hope Bob will make playoffs, I don't think they'll make playoffs either. Sadly. Pro, I don't know how good Pro is right now because they've just had big changes. And VGR, I feel like should be very bad, but we've lost to them twice now, so I don't want to underestimate them too much.
So you're looking at Vigorous, Pro, and Claytrons as those 3 teams.
Yeah, because I don't really know I don't really know the level of VGR or Pro right now. If I were to say just the team right now, I'd say Claytrons, but I do honestly doubt Claytrons do end up making playoffs. I think I think Pro are gonna make it in the end.
I think Pro make it, and then Stones.
Depends on next week.
Fair enough. I just
see how the Thursday goes, Arby. All right, and then I'll let you know from there.
Fair enough. I just have more faith in your players individually than I do the other teams.
What's your situation like with Valk, to jump back on that? Because, I mean, when I was trying out for you guys, Valk said that one of the issues that he had on ELO Thieves was that he didn't like playing with players that were too better than him. It was something he said, and he had that with you. He said he found the same thing with me. I can only imagine he found the same thing with Endeavour. His words, not mine, by the way, but I will echo the statement. Are you having that issue playing bot lane with him now? There is no.
Oh, he hardens.
He
hardens. Yeah, I check it out. Like I wouldn't say like he does questionable things sometimes, but like then you got me in game 3 trying to save my mental, and I'm tower diving with Trist at level 2 because why the fuck not? You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
Because the first 2 games, I think like I don't know, like I tried to keep in the game as much as I could, farm up and not die, but everyone was just an absolute animal, like all across the maps. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna die over and over again. So game 3, I just went into like, as long as I have a positive KDA, which I did, I'm happy. So you know, it's like I'm happy as long I don't care how many times my teammates die, as long as I'm a positive KDA. That'll do, you know. And that's how I played that game, and that's how I got through that game. You know what I mean? Because we was having a real bad, a real bad Thursday. You know what I mean? I think our jungle went together like 1-30 over 3 games. The bot lane was going for absolutely terrible. We was like, come to 5 minutes for like 0-5 or something. It's like, shit, this is not working. You know, it's game 3, yeah. But with Falk, I don't know. Falk's, I enjoy playing with Falk. He makes me laugh, but some like I don't really want a tank next to me in lane. I want a lane that I can win lane with, because that's my playstyle. That is me. Like I want to win lane. I want to go for the trades and that. Where if I'm sitting there and I've got a tank by my side, like I want someone that's going to be able to input on poke and help me win lane. Because a bot lane, your support plays a big part.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If your support don't get you ahead, then that's sort of like you're either going to go even or lose lane. But if you've got a support that will help you get ahead, you can then take that lane, then move it to mid lane and etc., and then just roll from that. So I want to try to get Falcon some non-tanks.
Yeah,
some people that are gonna. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I want him to be on something that's gonna help me win lane, not just go even or lose. You know what I mean?
That's
because that is my playstyle. I'm like it I was like it in the top lane as well. I don't like going even. Like I want to fight you over and over and over again and try to get a lead. You know what I mean? So yeah.
I'm almost to the same mentality for AD. I think the thing for me is the support will win or lose the lane, and the AD carry will win or lose the game.
Yeah.
At least that's my perception on it. Do you share that, Arbush? Obviously moving to AD carry now. I mean, I know you play some mages and it kind of changes the dynamic, but
it does change the dynamic. But when you're going to like traditional bot lane, for the most part, yeah. I think it depends what support and what AD carry can also change that dynamic a little bit. Like if you're even in Janna, the Janna's not going to be the one hard winning the lane for you. But for the most part, again, to be fair, no matter how good the support is, though, they can never really carry a complete garbage waste of an AD carry. It is like, I say 60% the support is what happens in lane, but still 40% of it is the AD carry to still follow up on that and be in position to actually do things like that.
Yeah.
So it's not just blame the support if lane goes bad. It's on both parts, but the support does play a bigger role in it than the AD carry for the most part. Unless you're playing a mage, then I think you play a bigger role.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like if you've got a Lulu late game that they can't single-handedly carry the team fight by getting a clutch polymorph on a Master Yi and knocking up the tank on 4 people for Yasuo or whatever it may be. But yeah, I mean that's the way I see it, and I think that was the synergistic issue that me and Bramsh had. I wanted Bramsh to win my lane, and Bramsh wanted to win the game before 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we didn't end up working. But he is undoubtedly a good support. So we'll see how that works. I think Wellesley's got that mentality that works with Bramsh, the new AD carry for WSL.
Yeah.
So we'll see how they roll. Finally, before the end, I want to touch on Silver Gold a little bit. So obviously SCS officially left. 5 teams in it. It looks like Claytrons might get a 6th team. Arbush, what's your opinion on this whole thing? And then explain why you think you're better than VGB and WSLA.
On the whole SCS thing?
Yeah. So opinions on them leaving, opinions on Claytrons coming in now with Wizigan probably 0 wins, and then obviously why you think you're better than VGB and WSLA.
Okay. The whole SCS leaving, I think, is just kind of silly that they leave because a Smurf got banned. But again, the Smurf was the team captain. He's the team leader. He's the one who kind of runs everything. So I don't really hold against the players. I think they've just kind of been taking his word for things, which, blame them if you want for that. But I know that a lot of their players are very young, so they're probably a bit gullible about that sort of thing. So they probably believe him when he says he's not a Smurf or he's not done anything and he's still just appealing and whatever. So they're probably upset that the team's out. But in the end, it is just a bit silly that they're going to have to leave because of that, because of one player was a Smurf. I think the Clay T getting a team in, it's going to be hard for that team to really reach playoffs at this point. Actually, I don't know how playoffs are going to work in that league. There's only 6 teams, so maybe it's not going to be that hard to reach playoffs. But
I'm hoping that all 6 teams make it into a tournament format or something, and it's just seeding.
Yeah.
So every team gets to continue playing. I don't know how it'll work.
In a way, I hope so, but at the same time, then the regular split doesn't matter all that much in that way. But I don't know. But I think for sure that the getting a new team in there instead is very good for the competitivity of the league. Because with only 5 teams, every third week just wouldn't get a game to play, which is not optimal.
Hypothetically speaking, Claytrons are the best team in the Silver Gold League, right?
Yeah.
Because we're over halfway through, some teams are going to play Claytrons more than other teams. Maybe one team won't play them at all. I don't know how it's going to end up working.
Yeah, true.
Could that hurt the competitive integrity of the league? Or even if they're worse, like if every team beats them or if every team loses to them, do we potentially see an issue there?
I mean, we do, but I think, again, I think it is more of a case of the lesser of 2 evils, because no matter how they're integrated in, there is going to be some issues with it. But I still think having that 6 team is going to be worth more than the potential 1 win or 1 extra loss that some people might have to get in it, instead of having weeks where teams just don't play at all. Because again, this is an amateur league, and if teams only get to play like 2 out of 3 weeks, then that does also just kind of kill the interest for some people, that they'll have to just wait 2 weeks between games sometimes.
That's fair.
So I think it is the lesser of 2 evils, but there is probably going to be some issues with it at some point.
So then you said that DV are much better.
Yeah.
Undoubtedly, 100% certainty.
Yeah.
That you're better than VGB and WSLA. Why?
VGB, I think they're very similar to us, and I do think that they are going to be, again in my mind, undoubtedly 2nd place. They are a very strong team. I don't want to take that away from them, but I just think that the things all the issues we had when we faced them the first time, we ended up losing to them 1 and 2. I think every single thing that went wrong that that first series we had against them, we've fixed, or at the very least polished up a lot, and I think we are the team that's growing both the fastest and the most. Because recently, when we've been scrimming them, I don't want to do scrim leagues, but we've been doing a lot better against them, at least. Let's put it that way, I guess.
So the clutch things I remember for DV is the fact that Couchy shat on Jonjo in the top lane in that game 1.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that's fixed. If it's just mechanics. No discredit to Jonjo. I think he's a fantastic player, but is that?
I mean, it's not more of a. Maybe you don't want to put it as completely. Oh, it's completely fixed. Jonjo's never going to lose lane again. But we've figured out exactly what went wrong in those games. I don't want to leak too much, but it is.
Okay.
Couchy, also in our power rankings, he's a very good individual top laner in the Silver Gold League. Honestly, he's probably one of the best just sort of 1v1 players in the game. But that series, we would have had very easy comeback potential. Honestly, we came back like in game 2 and almost game 3.
Yeah.
Almost purely based off of the fact that he I love Cauchy, but he kind of sucks in the mid to late game where he needs to be on the map. He gets caught so many times. And we figured out how we can stabilize the top lane, so Jonjo will just do fine there. Some champions that he can pick, he'll just go even with Cauchy, and then from there, I know that in the mid to late game, Jonjo will have a much bigger impact on the game than Cauchy will. We've also figured out more what kind of champions. Again, we were very good. I think that was like our first series.
Yeah, it was.
Since then, we figured out a lot more like what champions our team can play around and how we need to play with different champions, which was also an issue we had in that series. An issue we've kind of had in general because we have like some god tier picks in every lane, and if we get those picks, we can annihilate any team. But if we don't get them, we struggle a bit more, and that's something we've also been working a lot on. In every other role, I think Kelly and Trey are also like, or Lolly Fool or whatever you want to call him, Trey, are like far above all the other mid laners in the league, both of them.
Yeah, undoubtedly.
I would argue Trey is slightly better than Kelly mechanically, but Kelly has a much larger champion pool, and that's a lot more flexible in that aspect. So I don't know who I'd exactly rate higher of them in like overall, but I think that they're both high above third and fourth place. Bot lane, it is a bit harder now because Dan came in, and I think Dan is also a good shout for like a top 80 carry in the league. But I think that, what's it called? Franklin is the best mechanical player in the league. Some teams makes not always the best decisions, which is what costs us fights once in a while, but overall, I think he is the best mechanical AD carry in the league. Harshy, you can say what you want about Harshy, but Harshy's kind of been, since the first series, and it's the first couple series, Harshy's been in training camp to figure out how to peel for Franklin, and that's just his job, how to protect Mr. Franklin, get down Mr. President over and over, and he's actually become very adept at it and very good at it at this point, even though people will meme on Harshy, but he will do the job that he needs to do nowadays, and he won't fuck up anything else. People will meme on Harshy's mechanics, and they'll continue doing that for ages, but he is, as a player, doing his job the best he can out of any support right now, I feel. You could argue, honestly, I'd argue Llama probably has better mechanics, he can overall play better, but Harshy can fill the role he needs to fill in the team better than any other support would be able to, I think. And then I still just think Ice is just the best jungler in the league as well, by a good bit.
Well, that's fair. I mean, for me personally, I'd say Wavy is the best jungler, that Dan's the best AD carry, and that Llama's the best support, and that mid's incredibly close between the two, and top lane is the only one you could argue is not. And which is why I think VGB is the best. And I can also see how that team can win through all three lanes.
Yeah, but, honestly, I think if any team is going to challenge us, it's definitely going to be VGB. I don't want to league anything, but in power rankings, since we can't rate our own players, VGB got top spots in like 4 out of 5 roles for us as well.
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. The second thing that I can kind of point out is obviously of those two saves, which are obviously the two that we need to look at, is you beat WSLA because I stole Baron.
Yes, that is true. And again, those saves where I went back and looked over and see what goes wrong there, or like what causes us to be in a position where we need to steal Baron. And I just feel like out of all the teams have coaches as well, but I feel like we are the team that just is improving the most and the quickest. Because in the beginning, I would argue VGR was probably a better team than us the first few weeks of the split. WSLA arguably as well, but I feel like as a team we keep improving, while the other teams I have not seen all that improvement from. But that could also just be biased because I'm part of the entire DD process, obviously.
Yeah.
But it feels like we do better and better against the teams every time we play them, at least.
That's fair. I mean, when looking at those series, and there are 2 series that I've watched, I've not seen all of them.
Yeah.
I can see obvious places for the teams you played to improve.
Yeah, obviously. I know they can get a lot better, but I just feel so far we are the team that has improved the most in that way.
We'll obviously come to see towards the end of the split, but I'm excited for that one too. Hopefully.
One issue we still have is we always just throw one game away in best of 3 series, and I don't know why. we were against Windhowl, and we got smashed by Windhowl game 1 with Teemo top lane or something, but then, okay, that's not in the next 2 games, and we like smashed in 20 minutes 2 games in a row. So I don't know why we have issues in our first games. But we do.
Wait, Teemo top lane is OP, though.
I guess so, maybe.
It is.
So we'll come to the end here. Is there anything that you want to say? Anyone you want to shout out? Anyone you want to flame before we end the podcast? Stones?
No, I don't really want to flame anyone, really.
No
because,
broad, open statements?
Always, we're going to make playoffs.
Okay. Gonna make playoffs. I like it. Arbush, anything to end on?
I'll make an even broader statement. We're going to win playoffs. Both leagues. Easy.
Both leagues, easy. Broad. That one's just wrong. but I admire the
Yeah, I mean, one of them is probably going to be wrong, one of the leagues, but well, and then I want to shout out a good friend of mine, Drigger, for making good podcasts and all that. And other than that, I don't think I have anyone else.
Blushes.
Awesome. What was that hand about?
I'll bless you. Fuck you lot. Yeah. Stoned, I will see you on Thursday in the bot lane roll with Ike Face Pro, and I'm going to tear you apart.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. Don't play like a pussy, and we're going toe to toe. Let's go.
I will pick Kalista, mate. Don't you?
Kalista. Oh.
If I get allowed to. I think I've got an 8% win rate on that champion this season. But anyway, I'll see you on Thursday. Stoned. Arbush, good luck in Silver and Gold.
Thank you.
It's going to be an exciting road, and obviously, good luck in playoffs for the Gold Pack League. If there is anything else that you guys want to see for the podcast, any guests that you want, any different formats, I've tried loads of different formats at this point. I've still had zero feedback on which one you found was the best. So, yeah, just let me know what you want to see, who you want to see, and we'll try and make it happen. But it has been Let It Rip Podcast. Over and out. Peace.